All right, everybody, still live here from Inspection Fuel in Dallas. And we are here with co host of the last several episodes and keynote speaker from Fuel. I am so freaking proud of you, Harmony. So, how did you feel that you got your keynote done? This is kind of like, this is like your post game right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I absolutely had a great time on stage. I felt like, first of all, Mark Hummel did a great job of like getting the audience prepped and ready. I think that's amazing. He does such an amazing job with that. And then when we were on stage and we're talking, we're sharing, you're kind of wanting to make sure that you're giving the audience something that they can take away and feel like that last hour that they just gave you was worth it. Because ultimately, um, it's a privilege to get to speak and share, and I just want to help. I want to build this industry. I want to see it grow and expand. I want to see us all do better. So hopefully there's some happy people out there today with what they heard.
No, I absolutely hope so. But I hope more than anything that you feel happy with how it went, because I mean this is a big thing. Like, if you guys have been watching the show for the last several episodes, one, it's been so fun having you like actually like co-host and like do the studio setting thing and stuff. But this is kind of a like, let's pause and appreciate the moment here, because you have built the company over a decade and a half now, to get to a point where it's like you are not just being recognized for the growth of the company, but you are being recognized on a national stage now as well, right? You have a message that is connecting with people now on multiple platforms, both social media, podcasting, and now conferences. Those that know you have celebrated your success for a long time, but this is a cool thing. And I love all along the way how humble you've been about it, from the sense of like, hey, I haven't gotten here alone. And you demonstrated that on stage today by bringing a lot of your team up there with you. So, how has that kind of like that team mentality really kind of fed up to this moment for you?
I think the team mentality has been massive. Number one, because I'm not in this for me. Sounds kind of cliche, but it's really just true. I want to build something that they can see their better lives in. And that takes honestly pushing myself, pushing them and saying like, listen, guys, we got to keep moving. Like we got to keep taking care of the folks that we bring together and we bring in. And I think because we are all so purpose driven in our willingness to not only build our own company, appreciating who has poured into us because we've been poured into along the way, right? But then turn around and give that back to those who we know are newly coming in. We know how it feels. We know they're lost. We know they're scared. We know that they're fearful about the steps that they're taking and that they could be making mistakes. And yeah, they are making some mistakes, but they're also doing some things really right. And they may not necessarily know that right now because it takes time for things to ripen. It's no different than if you go out and you plant a tree with just one seed. You may be watering, you may have put it in good fertilizer, you may be getting plenty of sunshine, but while that seed is still in the ground, you just don't know. Right. And
Right. You kind of have to just kind of trust the process at that moment.
that's exactly right.
So yeah, and that's kind of all led up to this. So this is exciting though. Okay, like what were you thinking like when you were putting together the keynote? What was the message that you're really trying to convey? And I guess what's the next step in that in delivering that message for you?
I think the number one message that I really wanted to get away with is one, we are special in the real estate transaction, period. I feel as though most people take for granted that they know that and they don't let that sit long enough. It's no different than taking the stew out of the kettle too early, right? Like you really got to let that sink in because once it does, it becomes a part of your why. And when you say I deserve more for this transaction, like I deserve more for my inspection or I need to give you this upgrade in the field but you understand the purpose and the reason why that's true, you have a different impact because you feel different. People feel the confidence. They're resonating with you. They're trusting you. You're no longer being treated like someone that is just this annoyance to the real estate transaction that the realtor told them to have. You're commanding, right, the respect. And as you do that, not only does that permeate through you as an individual inspector, but then that permeates through others around you. And then that permeates throughout your community. And then that's the city. And then that's the state. And then all of a sudden together, we're rising and we're giving more without doing more, but we're giving more because our belief systems have changed and come with
Dude,
us.
that's good. Yeah, yeah. And honestly, I mean, I feel like that's something that it comes from an understanding of our own self-worth first as individuals and then as leaders and as business owners. Like don't we talk about don't sell yourself short, but like the psychology of where does that come from, right? Like it's so easy to sell yourself short if you don't value your own skill set, your own knowledge, your own worth as an individual. And I know this is something like that I've had to work on, and this is like getting like deeper below the surface of being a business owner or a home inspector. But think about this. You have put in my case, I know that I have put so many hours into acquiring a business, or I'm sorry, acquiring a license and starting a business in two different states. You've done this in multiple states, but when you can go from that mindset of just grind, 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 chase, 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 trying to get the business to I have built something that is meaningful and sustainable, you carry yourself a little bit different, right? It's like you can look yourself in the mirror and be like, you are worth what you're charging, and you people start coming to you. Then it's like this law of attraction where it's like I have built this thing and established this thing. I know my own worth and my company's worth. And when you can carry yourself with your head high in that manner, and you believe in you are worth as an individual and what your company's worth, people appreciate that and they start coming to you. Realtors start coming to you. Word of mouth gets out there and they start coming to you. So it's like don't sell yourself short, like as an individual or as a business owner. So it kind of just starts there, and then like that trickle down effect, it's cool to see. Like the people that are successful not because they say they're successful, but because you could just tell
Right.
the way they carry themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that carrying, it's okay that we all kind of approach inspection differently. I know that some people like to go a little bit more simplified. I know that that's kind of the opposite of us. Like we like to go the other way. We want to give tremendous value. We want people doing 500 services in a house if we could get them to do it. Like we would. We'd be out there for 2 weeks inspecting a house if we could have it our way. But we understand that that's not necessarily possible. So how much can we fit in this condensed amount of time and make it make sense and really just help them have the confidence to make that decision? And then once we get past that, I want people to think about how are they leveraging their time so that way in next year. So for instance, all after the completion of 2024, is there anything that you did in 2024 that already sets you up to win in 2025 other than the realtors that you acquired? So, like I think that that's where my next conversation would go is like when I say leverage time, but what does that mean, leverage time? Because you must understand that the lever is meant to increase without more effort.
Oh, that's good.
That's the goal,
Yeah.
right? We need to gain more by not doing more so that way we can impact more.
It's not what you're doing necessarily, but how you're doing it and why you're doing it.
That's right.
Yeah. That's it. No, and that changes everything for you too. That intentionality, both in your own life and then in what you're doing for your company as well. Okay, so what are some things? Let's make it personal. What are some things that you are doing time wise? You talked about a little bit on stage, but what are some things that you're implementing personally that it will drive greater impact for Greenworks?
Well, personally, one, I hold myself accountable for going into actual team meetings each and every week. I never allow myself to get too far from the actual boots on the ground. So that's going into inspector huddles for me. That's going into our call center huddles. I make sure that they see me, they hear me. I say their name out loud. I thank them for something. That's really big to be aware and be present and be with them. It's huge because a lot of owners start getting away from some of that over time. I did. I got away from that in 2023. I completely regret it. And I lost sight of who I'm really doing this for and why I'm really doing this on a personal level. I knew at the 30,000 foot view, but I didn't know personally. And now I have those personal stories and I understand deeply when, someone tells me that their child's sick, I actually know the name of their child, right? And it makes sense to me. Or when the dog dies, I'm like, okay, I've seen the pictures of the kids, right? And the dogs and them at home. And I'm understanding more. So that's going to be a part of it. Two, I think I'm massively focused on appreciation.
That's good.
It's so big.
Like having an attitude of gratitude kind of a thing?
An attitude of gratitude.
Yep.
Feeling always in any moment of time, like I can truly appreciate a 1-star review right now at my core.
Wow. So it's not because you're looking at it from like this negative, like crap, we got this. It's like, what can we do with this? How can we grow from it? Yeah.
That's exactly right.
I was talking to somebody about this the other day. So one of my personal best and worst strengths is that I, if you look at it the wrong way, I've had individuals, friends of mine tell me, they're like, dude, you are so dang hard on yourself. I'm like, no, no, no. There's, if you look at any situation in life, there is, you can look at it negatively, you can look at it positively, but that can come across in very different ways to people on the outside, right? If somebody's looking and they're like, "Hey, you're really kind of, you seem like you're beating yourself up about this loss here, about this." I'm like, "No, no, I didn't call it a loss. I called it a learning experience, right? It's all how you relate to it." And I was talking with a realtor friend of mine, and she's like, "Why do you berate yourself?" I'm like, you're hearing this the wrong way. At no point in what I just said about what I took away from this situation was I berating myself. The entire way, I was recognizing that there is only one way that I can approach a situation, and that's that aspect of what can I take away from it? What can I personally learn? Because that's the only thing that I can sometimes have control over in life. It's like when I look at the situation, it's like for good or for bad, what can I learn from it? What can I grow from it? Because I'm not responsible for anybody else. I'm not responsible for anything else. I'm responsible for me and how I approach the next situation, right? Like this one. How can I learn from that? So a one-star review, if you're looking at it and relating to it from this attitude of gratitude, it's almost like, okay, yeah, sure, it sucks that I might have gotten a one-star review here, but what caused it and how can I change that going forward? Because that's the only thing I could control, right? So I don't know, like, how do you approach that then?
No, I think you nailed it straight on. There's no way that we can control all factors of all things. And
Right.
once you start scaling and if you want to grow or you want to pass your inspections that you work so hard for, your realtors, your relationships, your investors, whoever, they've trusted you and now you have to trust in someone else. There has to be a part of you that lets go of perfection. You
That's
have to,
it. Yeah, yeah.
because it's not going to be perfect
You're gonna
anymore.
fail. That's like life's best teacher, right?
That's exactly
Yeah, yeah.
right. So if you take that attitude of gratitude, you're like, no matter what, I'm going to learn from this. Even if what's the worst thing that can happen? Okay, I lose a realtor because I hired someone who didn't provide the service quality that was needed. At least I spent that time learning what not to do and what I want to do different next time and how I want to approach it because you got to get it wrong. I mean, I don't know any way to say it. Like there has to be mistakes to get better. It's no different than we don't expect a child. And I think it's so funny. If a child first tries to start walking, do we expect the child to stand up and walk the first time? It's
No,
obviously an
we
infant.
chuckle when they stumble, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
But it never changes.
No.
Like that is actually who we are. When we were struggling to crawl, when we were struggling to walk, when we were struggling to write our name, when we were struggling to get potty trained, like as babies, right? Like that never changes. Everything is like that. There's no scenario in which you're going to be perfect at something the first time. We think we know that here, but we really don't know it here.
Yeah, that's good.
Right? And so we get caught up in this emotion and fear and, oh, I can't believe that I hired an inspector that didn't work out. Well, of course, that was your first only, what, 12 times that you did it. I mean, really, it's okay to fail that much. That's what's the difference is right? Is if you're looking at it from that appreciation and you're looking at it from gratitude, you can learn to appreciate the journey
That's good.
that you're on and truly say, you know what? It's okay that I try. We went through a growth year where we had so much turnover. I can't remember if that was 2019. Man, oh, we tried to go on this really big hiring kick and we lost just about every inspector that we brought in. And we went, what in the world did we wrong? It was awful. I mean, it was just terrible. We just completely bombed. But you know what? We learned more from that than had we succeeded at keeping those guys because we were, oh, okay, we can't train it this way, or we can't do it this way, or this can't take this long. And it was just a willingness to not always try to be succeeding at everything. And that is what spurred us into the future years, right? Of now, like we're one of the best hiring companies that you can find in home inspections.
Well, this is actually cool because you're talking about being at a point where you guys are now the best. Go back if you haven't seen it yet. Watch the episode with Daniel Burkhead, who was on the show here just a bit ago. This is only his second time coming to Inspection Fuel, but he was just telling me that he came last year to the one in Orlando at Disney World, and there was, gosh, he said there was like a couple of classes that he took that radically changed the way that he was running his business this entire past year. Like he's hired two inspectors. He went from being a single man shop to hiring two inspectors. And just some of what he sat here and learned. It wasn't the CEs, it was the leadership and the business development courses that really helped to shape the way that he's running his business now. So you guys are at, gosh, what are you at? 70 now, 80 now? Like,
Yeah, we're at 75 inspectors.
okay, yeah. Because every time we record, it's like five more. But so he's at 2, you guys are at 75, but it's those baby steps, right? I hope to God that when we come back here in 2025, wherever here is, I don't know where Inspection Field 2025 is going to be, but I hope that he's at 10 inspectors at that point, if that's what he wants to do.
Absolutely.
So
That's
it's
what he
just
wants.
continually learning and refining and growing.
Absolutely. And then going through it's almost like a trust fall. It's like you have to have enough empathy for self and understanding for self that you will mess up. I make more mistakes faster. That's really what it is. I'm just messing up, and I'll mess up and I'll go, okay. Like I thought for a while there that we could swing the hammer. We thought we could go into handyman. We thought we could go into pest control. We thought we could do the work. Turns out Greenworks is never going to be a company doing the work. We've decided that. Like, that's not a part of who we are. We're not good at it. And we don't want to try anymore. I've tried to do 3 separate companies where we would do work, and it turns out we are actually only we're good at observing. We can look at something, we can write it down, and then we can connect. Say, hey, here's who should go do that. And that's what we're best in the world at, and that's all we're going to do. From there, everything else is on the table. So I'm happy to say that wouldn't have come without making the mistakes. We had to do it. And now going forward, we can turn around and we can tell other people about, hey, if you're starting up, you're in pest control right now, like look out for these things. Here's what we did. I do that with anyone who wants to talk to me about it all the time. I'm like, I know it seems like these leads can do this and then this, but look out for this, this, and this. And if those things are going right, like more power to you. And there's some people who make it, but it's still tough, right? And we're stretched. We only have so much time because our resource of time is still very valuable. So we have to still protect it and make sure that we're getting a good return on investment for our time. So that way, as we look back, 3 years from now, 6 years from now, that we see progression towards what we actually set out to do.
And that brings it right back around to your point about time management and using time effectively and intentionally, because it's some of that, it sounds like you guys learned from finding out what was a waste of time, right? If you didn't see the ROI over here, you learned that this is something that you weren't good at over here. It's like, okay, well, that now narrows down where I should be spending my time, right? If I want to excel at the things that I'm really good at, that tells me that I need to put the majority of time into those things or into better developing those things. So you know what to avoid in the future. You know what I'm saying? So that's awesome. That's excellent. It's just, again, this continual refining process, and yeah, you guys are masters of it, man.
No, I feel like we haven't even mastered. I mean, we've gotten really, really good. I still think there's completely, there's more that we can do. No doubt. But you know what? When we really stop and evaluate it, is if everything went wrong, like for us, it's like if everything went wrong next year of the things that we were trying to pursue, would we look back and think to ourselves that was a waste of time? And as long as it wasn't, as long as we were able to grow and learn something, then it was a win. Even if it didn't show up in revenue, even if it didn't show up in profitability, even if it doesn't show up with gaining more realtors, even if it doesn't show up necessarily on paper, that's okay. Because sometimes it's the interpersonal growth that has to happen and the willingness to be around environments that push us and change us and get us out of our comfort zone. I mean, I can look around at most inspectors and I can literally look and see who they hang out with and go, listen, if you're a startup guy, yeah, it would be hard to go hang out with an inspector who has 5 inspectors. But you need to try to do that. Okay? You need to try to do that because they've got something and they've figured out something that can help you, even if it's just a more efficient process. Because if you're sitting there and you're a solo inspector, and if it's taking you 4, 5, 6 hours to do an inspection, the reality is that's actually probably too much time for you to get a really, really, really great return on your investment. So we need to shorten up that process a little bit for you. Not saying in all cases. I'm not talking about giant homes. I'm talking about just a standard bread and butter 322. And we have a lot of inspectors do that, right? They come out of school and they need to be there all day to inspect a 1,500 square foot house that's a slab foundation. And you're going, that's a little too long. How could you learn from someone who's had to become efficient? right? And build some of that into your business to help you at least capture more time freedom, because that's why you maybe got started, right? Maybe you did want the time freedom, like Mark was saying earlier today. So keeping all of those things in mind, we focus on what we really want. We focus on who we need to be. We focus on what are my honest intentions. Yeah, because for some people it is money. That's always going to be harder. It's always going to be harder when you really just want money. Because who cares that you want money? I mean, everyone wants money. So I personally, that's not a good enough reason for someone to want to come and like work with you and like get behind you. It's like you wanting money. Like, so I mean,
That's the worst motivator in my
I
mind.
agree.
I mean, it's if you're willing to chase money and that's all that you want, you can charge $1,200 for an inspection, but it could be the worst inspection that anybody's ever had,
Yeah.
right? But the people that are the most successful are the ones that are focused outside of themselves. Okay, and this is something that you were talking about on stage earlier, right? Now, if you were at the keynote, you noticed that she brought the better part of the Greenworks leadership team up on stage, which I thought was awesome, right? It showed the humility that went into building and growing and developing Greenworks. And we talked about the process before of like. The book Who Not How, right? That was a big one for you that you read. We talked about recently, but really, when you're focused outside of yourself and on providing something that's bigger than yourself, you're focused on the client, you're focused on the realtor, you're focused on your employees, the money will show up. Right? It's the same way. I mean, think of it as a law of attraction, if you will. Okay, if all you're chasing is the thing that you're after, instead of just trying to refine yourself and your purpose in life and being about your purpose in life, uh, you won't find what you chase, right? But if you're focused on those intangibles and refining yourself as an individual and refining your business to be the best that it can be, everything else is going to happen there. So yeah, and yeah, forget the money, focus on being excellent, and then the rest will show up.
You're so right. You're so right. And focusing on that excellence, people think, well, don't have to focus on the money to make money. Actually, no, you really don't.
Well, unless you want to take it this way, because you've talked about this, you can focus on the money, but how about focusing on the aspect of how am I managing my financials?
That's it.
Okay, because if you
Very
can't
different.
if you can't steward $1,000,
That's
right,
it.
how are you going to steward a million?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So
If you're struggling to make ends meet on the small amount, it does not get better. And we know that because we watch people win the lottery
and
all
they
day
freaking
long
blow
and
it. Yeah,
they
yeah.
end up blowing it. And you're like, how did that happen? If I had $1 million, I would never. Actually, I can prove to
Yes,
you
you
that you
would.
would
Yeah.
based on your situation right now, right? So you're exactly right. We got to be good stewards. And running a business takes an even different accountability of that, because once you become responsible for other people, okay, yourself, you can kind of like wing it and have your good years and your bad years, and put your family through topsy-turvy times if you want to. That's one thing. But once you start being responsible for other people and their livelihood, it's time to get serious, right? It's time to get really serious about being able to provide and take care of them, and making sure that you're setting the business up to be able to always know that you can take care of those people. So, yeah, I mean, these are, I love that Brad always hits on my favorite topics, because we always want to talk about the personal part of who we are, because we are human beings. We're not robots. We're not machines. We are not AI generated. And so we can't just do things on command. Yes, we make all of our decisions through data. No one does. It's just not true. We're emotional beings,
Yes, absolutely.
right? Trying to be analytical and use data to make better decisions. But when it is all said and done, we still do things impulsively. And so we have to take care of ourselves and nurture ourselves, and always be willing to get 1% better. And I think that for the most part, you see a lot of that throughout the industry of people doing that. And then second to that, it just becomes about, again, the clarity about picking and deciding what it is that you want to do, and then pursuing it without apology, because you know that it's helping others. And I have so many wonderful people that I know in the inspection industry, like just knowing them personally, that I'm like, you deserve anything you want. Like you just do.
All right, here's what happens. All right, here's why we have a little. If there's a little jump cut in post production here. Anytime we talk, I swear we're like, okay, we got 30 minutes to have this conversation, and then like an hour later, it's like this should have just been a podcast episode. So anyway, but you were talking about coming from a place of abundance instead of scarcity, right?
Absolutely.
I think it's that abundance comes when you focus on the fundamentals, right? In your own life and then in your business as well. So, and, I mean, think of it from the perspective of like just sports teams. Okay, the teams that make it to the Super Bowl are the ones that do the little things well. The Yankees made it to the World Series this past year, and they lost to the Dodgers because they didn't play good defense.
Hmm.
All right, they didn't handle the ball well, and they were terrible running the bases. And that is stuff you teach in Little League, right?
Fundamental.
Focus on the fundamentals. Okay. So when it comes to your financials, when it comes to managing yourself and then your business, everything else that you want to happen with that business will flow out of that. Right.
That's
So,
so great. That's such good advice, Brad. I mean, it's funny. We feel like we're saying the same things all over again, and people feel like, oh, I've heard this before. It's not about have you heard it before. I really hope you have heard it before. It's about listening to these things and being truthful with yourself and calling yourself out. If you're not doing it, perfect. Just start today. Just start today. Take one step in the right direction today. So, for instance, if it's been a year since you've picked up a book, no problem. Just download the Audible app and start with just downloading a book. I don't even care if you read it. If you took the action to do the download, I started out, let me tell you, I hate working out. I can't stand the gym.
oh, I know.
There's
Tell me about it.
where I used to
Yeah.
be. Now I'm actually getting better. I'm starting to like it. But at first, when I first was trying to get myself to start, I said, man, there's got to be a way that I can at least get 1% better at this. So, you know what I do? I literally just get up in the morning and put on my workout clothes, put on my shoes and socks, and not go work out.
Oh,
That's it.
okay.
Okay.
I had a mentor. Is if we're on this track, one of my high school mentors hated reading, and he started with a page a day. Sometimes just a paragraph a day, and then a page a day, and then a chapter a day, and until he was like, "Okay, I'm finally picking up books and actually maybe kind of liking it a little bit now." But he hated it at first. But yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what do you mean you didn't go? No, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything different. All I did was make myself wear workout clothes. Now that, guys, I mean, but that's what my mind, I've trained my mind to just start doing the smallest thing right. Cause here's where that goes. Then it was like, I've got the clothes on. Then it was like, I'll buy a yoga mat. Like, I'll buy 3-pound dumbbells. And like, I'm thinking I'm like being smart and coy. It doesn't matter. That was actually brilliant.
Yeah.
I didn't use them.
Right.
I put on workout clothes this month. Next month, I bought a yoga mat and bought dumbbells and sat there and looked at them. Didn't touch them.
The funny,
I wasn't doing it
the
anyway.
reason I'm laughing at this though is because you're saying this about working out. We played pickleball when I first got here to Dallas, and look, this is proof that if you want to be good at something, you will be, okay? Because you love pickleball, you don't love working out. But when you get to the pickleball court, I'm standing here in a pair of gym shorts and a just moisture wicking shirt and a pickleball paddle that I got for free off of Facebook Market. She comes in here with her tennis outfit, her visor, one of her two pairs of shades because she dropped one and then went to the backup pair because the nose pad wasn't sticking well enough as the other one. And then her $200 paddle. And so I'm just like, this is just it's a lesson in discipline, right? Because we love to be really good at the things that we love. But the things that are hard that we don't necessarily like, it's like you have to kind of find a way to level up. Like, why am I so good at and willing to spend over here, but not over here? And so now you're taking that same mindset and you're applying it to things that you want to be better at, but your flesh sometimes doesn't, because it's hard.
It's right.
Yeah.
Like imagine a world, and man, this would be so fun. I would genuinely, anyone who wants to do this with me, I would start a group on Facebook. Maybe do it on the ride along. You said you wanted to call 10 realtors a day. Well, you haven't done it yet. Let's be real. You said that months ago. You haven't done it yet.
We need an accountability group, is what you're saying.
It's
Yeah.
accountability group,
That's it.
exactly. But why don't we just dial the number, not call?
That's what I do with
I'm
my
not kidding.
ex. No, I'm kidding.
But I mean,
No, I'm not going to do it. No.
seriously, like if you could just get it's so weird because what happens is you can't do that forever. Something happens. It's like the act that I put on the clothes. I'm not gonna wear workout clothes for the rest of my life. Okay.
Right.
Because I work from home every single day in my office. Also have a yoga mat, also have dumbbells, and then I made myself download a workout app. Didn't do anything, but it didn't matter. I just kept thinking these little steps without doing it. But at some point, it's like, okay, I'll do 5 minutes. Like I'll do 5 minutes of this because just okay. But then it just progressed a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. You know, I got to the point I would go on a 15-minute walk, 15 minutes.
With your
And
podcast going.
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
of course,
Yep.
absolutely. And now, you know, like, but everything builds. If you have a mindset of growth where you know I could start from anywhere. I can start from anywhere with anything. You told me, Harmony, I want you to be able to speak Chinese right now. That feels like the most overwhelming thing in the world you could tell me. There's no way I'm going to learn Mandarin. But I bet you if I would just start 5 minutes a day of just looking at Mandarin words, I don't even have to try to say them. I just need to look at them.
And-
Have it pop up on my Alexa. I could tell Alexa or tell Siri, show me Mandarin on my phone at this time of day every single, at some point 40 years from now. And people laugh at that. But it would work. I would start knowing what is happening, right?
It's
I'd start
discipline,
hearing
yeah.
the words.
That's all it is discipline. And that's where it comes back to time management, doing the fundamentals, focusing on the fundamentals, baby steps. Don't yes, you want the money, you want the success, you want the growth, but what are you willing to do to get there along the way?
That's right.
Right? And it's just the little stuff. And all of that, and this is kind of comes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. You won't necessarily pat your own self on the back about this. I'll do it for you. Culminated in your first keynote session at a national nationwide conference. So congratulations. I mean,
Thank you.
and but you're still focusing on those little fundamentals. Like you're not stopping here. We know you're not stopping here.
No.
But this is how you get there, guys. So yeah. Well, and all that to say, congratulations, Harmony.
Oh, thank
So-
you so much, Brad. No, listen, and I can't thank Ison and Portia for like letting me come and like speak with everyone. You know, I'm just so passionate about the inspection industry. I think the only thing I love, I've never found anything in my life that I love like I do this industry. I love my inspectors most. I just do. I always will. But I will tell you, I love this industry. I love what it does for people. I love the position that we're in. I love that we are real estate is the foundational piece to the U.S. economy. And yes, we are just a part of the foundation, but we're still a part of the foundation. And if this part breaks off and cracks, what happens to the entire foundation? Like everything is still built and stacked upon more and more and more. And so I have found a home and a residence. I would do this for free. I could never be paid another day of my life. And I would absolutely 100% never leave this. I can't. It's become a part of who I am and the love is there. And I hope that anytime that anyone wants to like reach out and share and talk with us, like I make my team available, like they're not on my team. You know, we speak negatively of no one. We will not,
I love that so much.
you know, because we believe that everyone's in here just trying to do the best with what they have.
No, we absolutely. Every single person that's here is here for a reason because they want to grow.
That's exactly
So-
right. And we're out there doing a great job serving all these families. And so
Yeah.
best to all of us.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. So, because look, again, if you listen to the show, we want this to be a conversation. So, we want to hear from you guys. What's something that you guys are focusing on this year that you want to have, like, you want to see massive results and payoff on in 2025? What are the fundamentals that you are struggling with, trying to improve on, or have mastered over the last year? Post them in the comments, subscribe to the show, keep this conversation going because that's what it is. It's a fun, ongoing conversation. We love sharing it with you. So, Harmony, thanks so much for jumping on again. It's been so fun getting to do this over this past year together, and we look forward to seeing you guys as we continue to cover Inspection Fuel Dallas right here on the Ride Along.